Everyone is fine. How your day been? You been all right?
Yeah, everything's good. It's good. Yeah.
Everything's good. All right, cool. All right, so I want to go ahead and start recording. Let's go ahead and get it started. How y'all doing, y'all? My name is B. Jerome Volsi. This is another edition of Atheist Testimonials. Today we're here with my good friend Dionne. She's gonna go ahead and introduce yourself. Go ahead and tell us, I'm Dionne, who you are and what you do.
Hi. So my name is Diane, and I am Gen X. I am from Gary, Indiana. And as far as what I do, I am actually in transition. So I finished my MBA like right before the pandemic hit. And I've worked in a variety of things. Higher education was my other specialty for my first master's in education. And so now I'm just looking to use the MBA that I earned a few years ago and to transition into that.
Okay, awesome, awesome. I'm actually going to school for my master's right now in mental health counseling because there's not a lot of us in that field,
Yes.
and those
Hmm.
yeah, and those of us who are in that field are on, the pray the gay away type of stuff, So
Yeah. No, and
yeah,
you know what? I commend you on that because not only do we need more Black folks in mental health, but we also need more Black males in
yeah,
mental health because we really do need to focus more on Black men getting
mm,
well, getting mentally well. And so I applaud you on that. That's awesome.
yeah. I appreciate
Yeah, I give it to you for that.
Appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. So this is Atheist Testimonials. What we do
Mhm,
here is we speak about to black people who are atheists or non-religious or spiritualists
mhm.
and get their testimonials from their lens. If you what brought you to atheism or if you were always atheist, how it was growing up in a religious society. So we're
Mhm.
gonna go ahead and start with that. So how long have you been an atheist or have you been in there your entire life?
No, I've only been atheist maybe about 13, 15 years, something like that. Um, and um, and soon after I became atheist, I've pretty much been open about
Mm,
it as much as I possibly can without damaging myself. But my background is I like to refer to my dad as being a lazy not a lazy Baptist.
mm,
So believe in God, listen to gospel music, but he was not a churchgoer, but that's how he was raised, as most Black folks are. My
mhm.
mother's Korean, and so she comes out the Buddhist faith.
Mhm,
Like I even have pictures of me and my mom at a Buddhist temple when I was an infant, getting blessed by the monks and all that other good stuff. So that's kind
mhm,
of cool. So, but my parents weren't very forceful about faith or
mhm,
religion. It somewhat of kind of a free for all. But I did go to Catholic school. So, I have the Catholic tradition from kindergarten to sixth grade. But I've sort of just been a floater. You have families that were really steeped in religion. I do not come from that kind of background. I come from more of yeah, we believe in God and do your thing. My grandmother, however, she was a regular churchgoer. She played the organ and piano for her church,
mhm,
and occasionally I would go to church with my grandma. I would ask her like, "Hey, grandma, can you come pick me up? Go to church?" And every time I said it, she picked me up. And so my experience, my true experience with the Black church is through my grandmother and through talking to other people. But mine was not a regular going kind of thing.
mm,
I feel like I have more of a Catholic background than anything else because of Catholic school and going to mass every Friday morning.
mhm,
So I have a little bit more of that going on. But as far as me personally, I've always questioned, I've always wondered how things worked. I am actually very fascinated by religion. Reading not just the Bible, but like the Bhagavad Gita, learning
mhm,
about Confucius, Buddha, Taoism, Jainism, Hinduism. I find all of that fascinating and how it affects human relationships and the human development. So for me, I think I take more of an academic interest in religion and faith. Um, which in some ways makes me, I'm not one of those anti-theist atheists. That's not how I am. So I find it more fascinating than anything.
Yeah, and that's very interesting because you know, as you know, like within the community, like you said that you recognize the Black church more through your grandmother, and I think that's something that a lot of us can relate to, because that's how a lot of us recognize the Black church as well, you know, through our grandmothers. Myself was through my parents, because both my parents, you said that you have more of a Catholic tradition. My grandmother was actually Catholic, because you know, Haiti is about 80% Catholic. So
right. Oh yeah, yeah.
that time. Yeah. At least during that time, it was 80% Catholic. So she was Catholic, and my sisters went to Catholic school. I didn't go, you know, because we moved around. So I didn't go to Catholic school, but I was gonna head in that direction. I could already tell. And that's very, very interesting. You know, like a lot of Christians end up going, a lot of Protestants actually end up going to Catholic school, which is always kind of interesting. Now, you said you take more of like an academic approach to religion. You said you've always questioned, was the academic approach what also got you kind of out of it? Because with me, it was more of the historical approach, because history was my favorite subject in school. I still love history to this day. I love reading about world events and how they shape everything that we have today. You know what I mean? A personal theory that I have is that the transatlantic slave trade is the reason why the world is the way it is today. That's my personal historical theory. Because you can trace everything, all the problems of the world today, back to that. But that's another story. But is that academic approach is what got you out of it? Because the historical approach that got me sort of out of it as well.
So for me, this is a little funny tangent off to the side. So I remember one time I was a little kid, and there was a box of cupcakes, Hostess cupcakes, underneath the kitchen table. And there is always this thing: God sees everything. He sees everything you do, and he knows everything. So he knows what you're going to do before you do it.
Before you do it.
I remember one time I took out a cupcake and was about to eat it, and I was like, does God know I'm going to eat this cupcake? And so I'm sitting with this cupcake. Like, if I eat this cupcake, did God know I was going to eat this cupcake? Or if I don't eat it, he knew I was going to eat that. He wasn't going to eat that cupcake. So I remember doing these little things with myself, like, but if he knew I was going to do it, then is it my choice that I'm going to eat this cupcake? So it's okay. I ate the cupcake.
Yeah.
But I remember little things like that about childhood, and little things that I would hear or we would talk about in school. But for me, it was because it wasn't reinforced at home. I was allowed to explore different things. My dad would let me read anything I wanted. Like, he never checked what I was reading. He would take me to the library. I would come out with a stack of books. He would be like, do you want some more books to read? And I'm like, no, I'm fine. He never once looked at anything I brought out of the library. So it could have been anything, but I was very fascinated with like Greek mythology and Norse mythology, and wondering, why is it that we're not worshiping Zeus, but we're worshiping Jesus? But Zeus was a Greek people's god, and that was their religion. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
Yeah, it was stuff like that. And then, when I got to college, I took a couple of religious courses because I just found it fascinating, and learning all that. But what really sent me over like the edge into atheism is, believe it or not, the History Channel and the ancient Bible, ancient secrets of the Bible.
I love that series.
Everything. All their series about the Bible. Yeah, I would find myself getting out my Bible and reading along with that TV show, and following and listening to them. And and then afterwards, and I remember I was living in Chicago in Hyde Park, and I remember going to my bedroom and just looking everything up on the computer, stuff that I had just watched, you know, the different Bible verses. I'm really researching this, and I'm really thinking like, okay, this is interesting. But I also, because I also like science, I'm
Mm-hmm.
also thinking about how big the universe is. It is
And
billions and trillions of light years. And if you know how much, how many miles a light year is, and how long it takes you to get somewhere, and you have to think, like, for real, God did all that, and I'm only going to be on this earth for maybe 60, 70, 80 years, and then it's what else am I going to do, and what was going on before? Um, After a while, it just started to make sense that there was no God.
mhm,
You know, there was no God. And then when you look at the different ways people believe, but my God is the only God. The way
mhm,
I worship God is the only way to worship God. And so for me, once you really start thinking about the stuff, and does it really make sense?
right.
That's when I was just like, yeah, that's yeah, ain't no God out there.
Yeah.
There is no, and that's how I got to it.
Yeah.
And just always questioning and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a similar thing for me because those are my two favorite subjects, history and space science. You
Mhm.
know, so learning about just how big the universe is, I just couldn't, you know, I couldn't like reconcile that with the fact that we are so small and the universe is so big, and God chose this little in like this insignificant dot in the vast array of the universe
Right.
to lead. Like there are places that humanity will never see. You know what I mean? There are galaxies that we will never see. We'll be extinct before they even get here,
Right.
and we're chosen. Like that those things put things that make sense to me. And of course, the historical approach of there ain't no Adam and Eve. Yeah, I mean, Noah's Ark makes no sense historically. Jonah makes no sense scientifically or historically. Sodom makes no sense historically. You see what I'm saying? And
Hmm.
why, just like you said with the Greeks and then the Romans, and then I start to look at, this history is all over in the Middle East. What was going on in Africa during that
Hmm.
time?
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Yeah.
what exactly was happening there? Like where were our people during this time? Like this, because I'm not Egyptian. I know I'm not. So where was our people this entire time? It's like it's not possible that all these people, this grand god or whatever, none of them knew about it, and they had to be forced into it. Of course, slavery and stuff like that. That's how I
Mm.
developed my theory. But I'll tell you what my theory is later. But exactly, it was kind of the same approach, and
Mm.
it's like has anyone ever found it, like whenever you discuss it with anybody when you take these approaches, anybody ever found it like kind of offensive? Because I find whenever I talk about this and I say, hey, we weren't doing this before the Europeans came over, they'll go into the entire, oh, but Christianity was in Africa. They'll go into all that, kind of be defensive about it. Yeah, have you ever when you discuss your non-belief, has ever happened to you as well?
I actually get people who tend to get very angry with me.
Mm,
Um, but I I am not the argumentative type of atheist anymore. I used to argue online and stuff. But now I just find when people are like, when I say, well, yeah, I don't believe in that. I'm an atheist. I don't believe in God. Oh, well, how do you explain the origin of the universe? I don't know, motherfucker. How do you explain it? Magic? Did somebody wave a little hand? Like, I don't know. But that has nothing to do with whether or not God exists or not, if I can explain how the world happened, because you're just gonna say, well, God did it.
God did it, exactly.
Okay, but that still doesn't prove God. And my stance is, it is not on me to prove God does not exist. You're the believer. So I'm just saying I don't believe because there's no proof. I'm not going to tell you that there's no God. I'm going to say, for me, I do not believe because I don't see any proof, no substantial, observable, verifiable proof. So when I tell people that, they still do the whole, well, explain this, explain that. And my thing is, I don't have to explain a
Nothing.
goddamn thing to you because I don't
Mhm.
believe. It's on you. And I don't care. I don't care if you believe, because I ain't got nothing to do with me. That's you. I don't believe. That's my thing. And so
Yeah.
not you, but people challenging me on it and then getting angry and wanting to argue with me and yell. I got into an argument last year with this dude at a bar, you know, and he was just like, explain that pillar. And I was like, nigga, you explain that goddamn pillar. I ain't got, and you in my face, we've been drinking, and he's yelling at me, and I'm looking at him like, this is Indiana. It's a conceal and carry. You don't know what I got, so you
Wow.
need to pipe down.
Yeah.
But I get people who get very angry, and I'm like, why are you angry at me? Because I literally don't care. The only thing I really care about is separation of church and state. That is what I care about. I care about discrimination based on religious belief. Like, people also get angry with me because I defend Muslims. And the reason why I defend Muslims in America is because they are the minority. And they are very well discriminated against because more likely they're Arab and Muslim. So they've got two strikes. I understand that. I am going to defend it, but I'm going to defend anybody's right to believe whatever you want to believe. You just need to leave me alone, and you need to leave other people alone. So that's what I find very fascinating, because I don't get in people's faces about it. I don't be all like, Christians are stupid and, prove it. No, I don't care. But I find it's Christians that get very angry with me about my non-belief. And I understand why, which is a long discussion. I can give you a YouTube video to explain why most Christians get very angry. Explains it better to me, but I don't want to argue. That's your thing. Ain't got nothing to do with me.
I got you. I mean, I'm one of those. I did go through the angry atheist stage. I did go through that. Now I'm in more of the kind of battle of wits kind of stage. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be a debate, bro. You know what I'm saying? But I do kind of find it entertaining to talk about this stuff. You know what I mean? It does get to a point where it's tiring. I haven't done it in a while, but I do get into the point where I talk about this sort of stuff, and the approach that I have of it, like, I do agree with you. The burden proof is on them, and at the end of the day, I don't really care what you believe or not. But I think the reason why I do it so much is because, just like how you said, people become very, very angry, and not only that, what I've seen is that if you express that you don't believe, they find it offensive for some reason, or if you question what they believe, it's found offensive for some reason, and people think that if we don't believe, we must be miserable or quote unquote negative. I've seen those comments so many times, which is why I've always said I think that we should be more vocal. You know what I mean? I do think as Black atheists should be more vocal, but it's not for everybody. I do agree with you
It's
there. It's
not.
not for everybody.
Yeah, I had a cousin who got upset with my non-belief, and we were online. We ended up having to unfriend each other. But she was just like, well, you'll believe when, something goes, she was talking about when something goes bad and tragic in my life. And I'm like, girl, why are you wishing bad shit on me? That's always their go-to. Well, you'll start believing when you get sick. Why are you wishing bad stuff? Yeah, what? I only wish you good stuff, but you wishing bad stuff on me. And, and if it takes my life falling apart to believe in your God, then that's definitely a God I don't want to believe in anyway, because you're making my life miserable. Why would I want to believe in somebody that's causing me harm? That doesn't make any sense. And so, and that happens with people. I have a good friend of mine who, she had to leave her home church. She abandoned them. And what had happened was she had gotten sick, and they had told her the reason you got sick is because you're trying to leave the church. You don't have enough faith. That's why you're sick.
Wow.
And she knew I was an out atheist, and I think she was kind of hesitant telling me about this experience of hers in a church. And I looked at her and I said, girl, you just need to find a church that's going to support you and love you the way you need to be loved, that's going to support you and love you that Jesus says that he supports and love you. That church does not support and love you. They are trying to abuse you and manipulate you into staying in their church.
Right.
And she looked at me and she said, I can't believe an atheist is telling me this. And I just told her, I said, you're a believer. That's my job is not to convert you. My job as your friend is to give you positive support and good
Okay.
advice. I am not going to tell you that your God is wrong or that your belief is wrong. I'm going to tell you that church does not love and support you. So you go find a church that's going to give you what you need. That's what
Okay.
you need to do because that's my job as a friend. And so
Love
I don't think, I think some Christians think because they're always trying to proselytize and
it.
convert that they think other atheists are going to do that.
Right.
That's not how I am. My thing is you believe if that shit's working for you, you keep doing that shit because it's
Yeah.
working. When it's not working for you, then you may need to do a shift in your thinking. You may need to expand. But as long as it's working for you, if you praying every morning, 5 times a day, if you feel like that is a positive impact on your life, I am going to tell you to keep doing that because it works for you. It don't work for me, but it works
Mhm.
for you. So I'm going to tell you to do what works for you. And you know, and I'm gonna have some atheists that are gonna give me pushback on that. I don't care, but that's not my job. I don't want to convert people. You
Mhm.
know that you got to find your path to the Sears Tower, just like I got to find my path to the Sears Tower. You know, we all got our own places to go and our own way of doing it. And
Mhm.
I'm not trying to dissuade people or tell them you got to do it the exact way I'm doing it because
Mhm.
everybody's journeys is their own. You know, and
Correct.
I gotta respect that with other people.
Yeah, yeah, I could
Mhm,
respect that. I
mhm.
mean, that's one thing I've always said as well. Like, I've met people who said that if I didn't believe this, I would be out doing, whatever and harming people. And I always told them that sounds insane to me. However, if that's what keeps you in line, if you ever come up to me and say, "Hey, I'm starting to not believe," I will take you to church myself because obviously you need it. Obviously you need it. So if it works for you, then it works for you. You know, what I mean, people are gonna do what works for them. You know, what I'm
Right.
saying it's a now I do like the exercise of speaking about it and normalizing us. I
Mhm.
think that's the reason why I kind of do more of the debate stuff because I want us to be normalized in our society. Because one thing that I've always gotten, just like how you said, was I mean, just like how I said it earlier, was either we're miserable or we're negative, anything like that. So I think those discussions and debates normalize us, but also for people to see that you can look like this and not be in the choir or not be in the deacon board or not be anything like that. Because one thing I've gotten a lot was, what do you mean you're an atheist? You're black. Oh, what do
Mm.
you mean you're an atheist? You grew up in Haiti. Yes, your parents is Haitian. What do you mean? And it's
I
and it's
had someone who
always
said,
so
"How
weird.
can you be an atheist? You look, you know, you're really smart." Yeah, duh. That's why
Yeah,
I'm an atheist.
yeah, yeah. I mean, so I know, growing up as mixed race, I'm not sure if anyone either confused you for either being fully Korean or black and mixed or anything like that. But has that ever been brought up to you? Like, how can you be atheist? You're black, or how can you be why you're not Buddhist because you're Asian? Things like that. Has that ever happened to you? Where people just kind of assume?
I think I think I get a pass on being an atheist sometimes with black folks
Mm,
because then it's well, you know, it's because her mom's Korean and you know that's the way
mm,
she is.
yeah,
But with Koreans though, it's different because my mom is now she's Christian, and her and all her friends they go to a local Christian Korean community-based church,
yeah,
and but I don't really talk about that with them. It's just for me, for my mom, it's just, you know, she goes, she believes, she ain't going to Bible study, she doesn't sing in the choir. At this point, she doesn't even go to church because she's, you know, it takes her so long to get ready and walk because my mom is in her, you know, mid 80s. And so she
yeah,
just doesn't go as much. But you're gonna find a lot of Koreans are now Christian, especially in the United
yeah.
States.
I
But
see
yeah, for
that.
Black folks, it's more of an excuse. Well, you know, her mom's not even Black. Her mom's Korean, so you know that
Yeah,
you know. And so in some ways, I get a pass And then sometimes when I don't want to disclose that I'm an atheist, I just go to Buddhist route. Like when people question me and I'm just like, I really just don't feel like talking about this. You can just stop talking to me. I'm Buddhist. I go to the temple. This part of my culture, my heritage, please don't proselytize me.
Yeah.
And I get people to back off because, I'm nowhere close to being able to be converted.
Right.
So I do use that as like an example, but it's kind of weird for me at times with Black folks because I wasn't in church every single Sunday, but people do you know, um, they make assumptions about me, what I've experienced, what I've not experienced. But I do know the Black church experience through my grandma. She went to a Baptist church in Gary, Indiana, which is, a blackity black city, so, and the churches on every corner, everybody had their own church. So it's steeped in it. You hear about it, even if you don't go to church on Sunday. You get the experience. You know what's going on
Yeah,
with
exactly.
that. Yeah, but I get more shit for other stuff other than being an atheist. So that's the other thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We black folks, so uh, we get other shit all the time. I mean, it's just yeah. Yeah,
Mhm,
that's an interesting experience because the last person I talked to was that happened to them too because his mother is white.
mhm,
So it's like I've seen that with people who are more biracial. If your parents are not Black people, they're always like, oh, it's because of their mom is this or their mom is that or their dad is this or their dad is that. That's why.
mhm.
And it seems really, really strange because it kind of makes Black people into a monolith.
Right.
I mean, we're all not going to be the same thing. Like my grandmother on my mom's side grew up Catholic, but my grandma on my dad's side was a voodoo practitioner.
Mm,
Yeah, I mean, so she didn't even do all of that. Her sanctifications were to Ezrali, were to Shango, were to Legba, were to Gay. Those were her sanctifications. She was a parent of Jesus. So
mhm.
it's really interesting that people kind of expect you to be Christian once you're Black, and I think that's why I kind of do this of a platform for people to know that hey, you can look like this and question things.
Yeah. And
You,
I love that you're from Haiti and the religious practices of Haitians and in the Caribbean,
Mhm,
which are more directly linked to our African ancestry and our
mhm,
African heritages that people in Haiti have been able to keep alive more, and so you find little patches of that in the States too, but not as much. And I think it's fascinating as well as a little disheartening to me when Black Americans sort of look down on the religious practices out of that area or out of Africa that does not line up with Christianity, in
mhm.
particular Protestant Christianity. And
Right.
so, I find voodoo and all that other and Santeria, I find all of that fascinating. Especially they were able to keep a significant part of their African heritage alive in the midst of all that brutality. And I love that, and I wish we would celebrate that more here in the United States when we've been able to keep pockets of our ancestry and heritage alive through all the crap that we've gone through. And I think we need to celebrate it and not denigrate it and demonize it. That I see so many of us doing, and it's falling in line with white supremacy in that aspect of it. And I think we really, we talk about being woke, wake up,
Mhm.
because that's what's going on. It's the clamping down on our heritage, and I think we need to stop doing that to each other and celebrate each other.
We should because like there are so many African traditions that survived over in the States because there's hoodoo, there's Louisiana voodoo.
Mhm,
Yeah, you know what I mean. And I spoke to like an African spiritualist in a few interviews ago, and when she was explaining to me like the practices they do, and I was like, my grandmother did that. So even like in two separate places we still kept a lot of the traditions. Hell, like in the black church, catching the Holy Ghost, that came from Africa. You know, that spiritual possession that came from Africa. All that came from Africa. You know, like white folks wasn't doing that before when they enslaved us. They wasn't doing that. Like
Right.
it was the black church in the South that started doing that. You know, so it's always very interesting to, or not say interesting, but very sad to see that how much you know, African tradition is denigrated.
Yes.
And it's denigrated not only here in the States, but over in Africa, even itself is denigrated a lot. You know what I mean? Especially when a lot of these places become Muslim, unfortunately. But it's one of those things that, you know, I agree with you. We should keep up, and we should be proud of it, because I see that even in other Christian circles, they don't, you know, push away their ancestral roots. Like if you go over to Mexico, they still do Dia de las Muertas, and they're all Catholics over there.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, and I seen the same thing with Asians. Well, I actually want to ask you about the Korean churches, because I have heard a lot of interesting things that come out of there, like lots of cults. You know what I mean? I wonder why that is. I've always wondered why that is with Korean churches. Why are there lots of cults? But I understand if you didn't grow up in that, you wouldn't really know. But it's like, why are there so many cults in Korean Christianity? It's so it's such
You're
a
thinking
weird.
about the moons.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the movie people. I'm like, why is that? Why is
The
that a thing?
moonies. You know
Yeah.
what? Oh, okay. Oh God, this is going to take a long explanation from what I believe, from what I know. Okay, so one thing that people here need to understand how devastating World War II and the Korean War were.
Mm,
The United States during the Korean War, there is actually a couple of genocides done by the American military against Koreans.
wow.
If you wonder why North Korea seems so backwards, is because the United States bombed them to hell and back. They had to
Mhm,
build everything from the ground up, on top of everything we lost during World War II.
mhm,
So then you look at South Korea, same thing. The Japanese, they literally raped the people and the resources.
mhm,
The United States came in and just bombed the shit out of everything. So I've seen photos going back to the turn of the last century, black and white photos. It looks, oh my God, it was nothing but rice paddy fields, broken down buildings, dirt roads, almost nothing. And so you're talking about a people that used to have great empires and great culture reduced to rubble. And so
mhm,
as they were building themselves up, they thought, who can we emulate as a strong economic powerhouse, as a strong, culturally to people together. It really is the United States, and the United States had a lot of influence. There's bases, the soldiers, everything, some mingling of culture, but also the missionaries came, and because there was nothing there for the Koreans, the missionaries came and had a strong hold on the Korean people,
mhm,
very similar to what missionaries did in Africa,
mhm,
Southeast Asia, the Aboriginals in Australia, and what they did to the Native Americans. Um, so the missionaries came in and kind of took hold, but then the same way I joke about Nigerians and Christianity, I'll be like, Nigerians be doing the most. I swear Nigerians be doing the most when it comes
Yeah,
to Christianity.
yeah, they do the most.
But
Yeah,
they have literally taken it and they made it a part of, they've infused Christianity with their culture.
right.
And that's the same thing that Koreans did. And they ran with it. And then they were able to build up and use, you had some very charismatic leaders and
Mm,
managed to pull them all in. And so when you come from a people that had nothing, and then you have people coming in giving them hope, and the hope was through Christianity. And so they were all able to build a following, but then left and came to the United States and their thing was new. A lot of these white folks didn't see much of what they were doing and got caught up in it. And so now you have the grandson of the Mooney dude toting guns in his church and rifles talking about yay Trump. So, but you find that a lot of that, it comes from us. You can really manipulate people who have almost nothing. And when you give them a little bit, you can positively and negatively affect them with that.
And what's interesting about that is that that's really similar to what's going on in Haiti. But one thing that I've seen that happens across black people across the churches is that there's a meme that says when the white man came to Africa, he had nothing but a Bible, and then when he left with everything and left the Bible. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things. Yeah, you see what I'm saying? So it's like when I look at how much Christianity has affected, or at least the Christian thought process has affected my people. When I look at it, is like after the earthquake, right? After the earthquake happened, and things were in rubble, there was nothing happening. They were singing songs and praising God, and they sang one of my favorite songs. Basically, it's a song called "Tout bagay déjà bien," which means everything is all good. It's a fun song to sing. I ain't gonna lie, because gospel be lit. You know what I mean? So it's a fun song to sing. So I hear them singing "Tout bagay déjà bien," "Tout bagay déjà bien." It's a fun song to sing. And if it's a chorus behind it and everything like that, like it sounds beautiful. But I'm sitting here thinking that you guys are in rubble. You lost your house. Some of you lost your mother, your father. A friend of mine lost his mother and his brother on that same day. So it's like, what do you mean everything is all good? No, it's not. Everything is not all good. But because of the thought of that within Christianity, all we have to do is depend on that. All we gotta do is depend on God, and we'll be okay. It affects a lot of things because, like, even if they're already in rubble, they think that they're fine. You know what I mean? There's lack of preparation for things. If you go over to Haiti right now, you see a lot of people say that all the issues that are happening in the country, they're not worried about it because God's gonna take care of it. And it's just one of those things where you think of, like, I think of how different things got emulated. You know what I mean? Because over in Korea, they emulated the charismatic, go gung-ho capitalism approach. And over in Haiti and Africa, they emulated the entire God's just gonna take care of everything approach. You see what I mean? And it's very really interesting to see that distinction of how it was taught to two different people's group and why it was taught to those two different people's group. Because it's just one of those things. It's really interesting. I know we got on a tangent, but yeah, I was just
no. You said it was going to be free flowing, so I said okay.
Yeah, it's excellent.
Yeah, I said it was okay. And I honestly, I'm glad you brought it up, because sometimes I don't really think about the Christian influences in Korean society. When I study my history, my culture, my Korean history and culture, I focus more on Buddhism. And I think of more of like the empire, like, the Joseon dynasty or the Koryo dynasty. And I learn about that. And there is religion in it and spiritualism, but it wasn't affected by Christianity. That is such a new phenomena for my people, so there's a difference. And also, too, Korea didn't get their Christianity through slavery or being forced like Africans were in the United States. Africans didn't ask to come here. They didn't ask for your religion. They didn't ask for any of this. It was all forced on them, and then it also goes back to how religion was used to subjugate Black folks. Rather, in Korea, it was a way of giving hope and, lifting up, rather than to manipulate. Well, yeah, it was manipulation, but to stamp down and keep people oppressed. That's not what it was there for. So not primarily. Of course, you can use it to oppress, but not the way it was for enslaved Africans in the States. It's not the same. The other part is that I understand why religion is more prominent with poor people. I understand why religion is more prominent with women, because when you are a downtrodden group, women are systematically oppressed, Black women, you know, being oppressed as a woman and then as a Black woman, and what religion does, if you don't have anything else, you have some hope. You have this one thing you can hang on that you're telling yourself, this is a good thing in my life. If I can't count on nobody else, I can count on Jesus.
Right.
And you gotta hold on to that, because if you don't hold on to that, it's kind of like, what else you got, So that's why I don't really get on people about that, because I get it. I get why people cling to that, and they got to come to their own way on their own. And I don't believe in beating people over the head with my atheism, because if, like I said, if you believe in Jesus and that's working for you because you ain't got nobody else but Jesus, okay, I get that personally. Now, my issue, I got problems with churches.
Yeah.
And I got problems with mega churches. More so, I believe in community-based organizations, community-based activities. And I like when churches were 30, 40 years ago, where it was community-based. You knew your pastor. Your pastor lived in your neighborhood, So, you might go to the grocery store and you will see your pastor at the grocery store doing things out and about in the city, and so I kind of miss that, where you knew there were activities for your family, for your kids. Now with these mega churches, it's like, yeah, you live in the hood and your pastor drives an hour away to his gated community and his 5-bedroom house with the 2-car garage. How can you then relate to the people, if that's what you don't have? And then, how we are as Black folks, if our leaders are doing good, we feel like we doing good.
Right.
So we're out there bragging about, yeah, my pastor just got him a new BMW. Girl, you sitting on a bus stoop, but you bragging about your that's not your car. That's his car. That's his car. That ain't your car. So I want people to look more critically at the churches that they attend and what is going on. And the reason why I say that is that I'm kind of big on third spaces for people to be able to connect. And churches were a very prominent third space for Black folks. It is where we organized. It is where we did our civil rights activism. It is where we organized the boycotts. It was our safe haven. And we need to get back to that. And that's why I'm critical of churches, but I don't think they need to be gotten rid of. I
Right.
think they can be a force for good, because we have seen how they can be a force for good in our community, and we need that back. And I'm tired of the Creflo Dollars. I am tired of the TD Jakes. I'm tired of them, and I'm tired of their supporters. Community-based churches, we need to go back to that. We need to go back to your pastor knows your name. And I will give a good example of a church, my mom's church, who they do such a good job. My dad died about 12 years ago. And my dad did not have a home church. Like I said, he was a lazy baby Baptist. My mom's church took over. And Pastor Kwan came to me and he said, no, we got to do this for you. Your mom is a part of our church, which means we have to take care of all of you. He did my daddy's funeral. A Korean pastor did my Black daddy's funeral. The Korean choir got up there and sang. They took care of us. And Pastor Kwan said, because that's what we're supposed to do. It doesn't matter that your dad didn't go to our church. Your mom went to our church. You got to take care of your father, because that's what we do. Churches need to be like that. If I have to hear of one more church or mega church telling a congregant they can't have their funeral there because they didn't tithe enough or they didn't come to enough Sunday services.
Mm-hmm.
What is your purpose if you are not servicing your community? You know,
Exactly.
so I tell that story a lot about my mom's church and her pastor. They just came in and said, no, we got to take care of all of you. You know, doesn't matter that your dad wasn't a member of our church, your mama is. And
Sure.
more churches need to be like that.
No, agree.
You know, yeah. So I want us to get back to that. I want all of us to get back to that. It's important. And it's important to our community, yeah.
Agreed. We should have more third space, like, because like you said, one thing I've said before is that I've always felt that after the civil rights movement, the black church kind of got away from what the mission was, like being that safe space, that third space for black people. You know what I'm saying? And it kind of, for lack of a better word, it kind of failed the community because, like, just like how you said, we have the Queffro dollars, we have the TD Jakes, you know, they all get swallowed up. But they don't. They all all of them get swallowed up, but they not.
Ooh, okay. Oh, okay.
They not doing. They should be doing more things for the community. You know, that's what I mean, because these no, but seriously, like these churches, from what I've seen, it's like you said, they need to be more focused on the community. And at the end of the day, especially with these mega churches, we know that they make millions upon millions of dollars a year. And I don't know the complete finances of these churches, but I do know that there could be a Sister Gladys or something like that has $10,000 in debt, and they could come up on one Sunday to say, "Hey, let's give to Sister Gladys for her to clear up her debt or her medical bills," or something like that. No, that could happen. But
And the thing is, these mega churches, they got the dollars to do it.
They got it.
You know, like I think about my grandfather-in-law. He was a Baptist minister. Actually, married me and my husband, and well, ex-husband, but you know, but yeah, he married us, and our church was so small, you know. But you know, my grandfather-in-law, he wasn't rolling in some fancy car. You know, he was sending out people to check up on the members and things like that, because sometimes you don't even need a lot of money. But these mega churches, they got buku dollars. You know, if you live in Joel Osteen, why is he living in that big fancy ass mansion and got $100,000 car? You know, you know, the avarice of these people is just shameful. You know, I'm a person that I'm like, did Jesus not say, give all your stuff away and come follow him? Did Jesus not say that it's easier for a rich man to go through the eye of a needle, or a camel can go through the eye of a needle, something like that, than for a rich man to get to heaven? I mean, you know, Jesus was not about, you know, bling bling, dollar dollar. You know, that wasn't Jesus. You know, and I'm an atheist, and I've read the Bible, and I've studied it, and I'm fascinated by it, and I'm like, what these mega churches are doing, Jesus is ashamed of y'all. Jesus just ashamed of y'all, because you know, I don't even believe, and I feel like I'm a better Christian
than
a lot of these people. I'm like, because Jesus would be straight up ashamed of you people. He really would.
He won't rock with none of y'all, bro. He wouldn't rock with none of y'all.
Yeah, he was rocking with them Air Force sandals.
Yeah, exactly. He was all about, you know, giving free healthcare. You feel what I'm saying? Like he would not rock with any of y'all or the Republican Party. You know,
he was giving away loaves of bread and fishes. You know, Jesus was probably the first to have a Friday fish fry. You know, he was giving to. So you know, and I look at that, I'm like, y'all really need to be more like Jesus, and I don't think y'all are being like Jesus. You know, because I like to say, Jesus was a righteous brother. I could hang with Jesus.
Mhm.
I think he's kind of cool people. And I think people need to go back to that. And that's why I say I'm not anti-religion. I'm not, anti this, that, or I just don't believe God exists. And
Right.
that's it. And if you a good person, you a good person and you can hang with me. I just want to be around other good people doing some good things and living a good life and not being all self-righteous about it.
Yeah.
That's the other thing that kind of bothers me at times is the self-righteousness of it. "Ugh, I go to church. Okay, ho.
Uh,
And
what that do for me? That would
right, don't
help.
do that for me. I do okay, you go to church, you a pastor, you yippee ki
I do nothing.
yeah, but are you doing good things? Are you treating people well? At times I have to tell myself I gotta treat people good now because there's no afterlife. There's no me trying to find you in the afterlife to make up for it. I gotta do right by you now. I'm not always perfect in that. I can be a little shady at times, but
Mhm.
I know that I can't sit here and do wrong by you and they be like, forgive me, or God forgives me. No, 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 no. You should have done right by me the first time, and not trying to come back and talk about God this, God that. Forgive me. It don't work that way.
It doesn't. And I'm exactly the same way. I don't believe that there's an afterlife after this. So I want to treat people right and love them right the first time because I
Hmm.
may not see them after this, or I may not see them the next day, and then when they're gone, I'm never gonna see them again.
Right.
So this is our one shot. So that was make life more precious to me.
Hmm.
Let me get back to a question. You said you mentioned a husband, ex-husband before.
Hmm.
One thing that I had to deal with as an atheist, I think a lot of us have to deal with that, is being in a dating scene, especially if your preference is usually for black people, because that question is always going to come up. As black folks, we love some Jesus,
Yes, we
and
do.
yeah, and one thing I've always ran into in a dating scene was I would get with women, and when they will find out about my religious prof, prof, my non-religious proclivities,
Hmm.
it would be like, oh, okay, well, we can't get into anything serious, but you can come over every Saturday. That's a thing that I will get to. Or they will say that's not a problem, but try to push me into
Mm.
going back into the church. Uh, that's something that I know as a man I've dealt with as a black atheist man. Other black atheist men have somebody dealt with the same thing. As an atheist woman, have you gone through the same thing with men kind of doing that, or they don't care at all?
Um, I think it's much, much easier to date as a Black atheist woman,
Mhm,
because men usually don't care.
mhm,
You don't see the pews packed with men at these churches. You just don't. Um,
yeah,
yeah, my ex-husband was Black
mhm,
and the grandson of a pastor,
mhm,
and was not a regular churchgoer. Um,
yeah,
he he wouldn't admit it, but he would really rather sit at home on a Sunday and eat a ham sandwich and watch the game. Like
yeah,
that's really what he would rather do. And church services were so long. Like there were many a Sunday mornings where we would get up, have sex, get dressed, and then go to church for 1 hour and come home. And then it got to a point where I couldn't go to church because I'm not good at hiding my emotions on my face.
mhm,
And so sometimes people say stuff at church, and I'll be like, and then he
yeah,
would look at me from behind his grandfather, like, just, I'm like, really? Um, but as far so I had to stop going because I would just get these looks. But after we divorced, I was still a believer and trying to date. And men, I just find Black men just really don't care, And I'm gonna put something out too. And oh God, I hope I don't get dragged for this, but it's kind of the truth. Being a light skinned woman
mhm,
who is more ambiguously Black looking, I look way more Asian than I do Black,
mhm,
makes it easier. I have found that Black men will put up a little bit more with me And I firmly believe it is based on colorism and texturism. And yeah, I have straight up cussed out dudes, snapped off on them, and they are back in my dirty drawers the next day. And will not say nothing about it. And so I find it to be a lot easier. I get I may get questioned on it, but there's no hard pushback. I had a bishop hit me up on Facebook dating, and I posted this on my page too, so the screenshots. Wow. Hit me up on Facebook dating. I had biggest day on my dating profile. I'm an atheist. And he hit me up, and I was like, "Did you read my profile?" And he said, "Well, yeah, but don't you believe that there could be some compromise and love and da-da-da?" I am like, bro, you a whole ass bishop. Why are you trying to date an atheist? And I know what it was. It's my looks, because you thought you could get over. You're talking about love and stuff. You don't know me. I'm flat out telling you you're an atheist. And as a bishop, why are you still trying to talk to me? Why are you still trying to convince me that you and I could work? No. And and so for me, it's not really the religion that trips me up in dating. It's trying to make sure I'm not getting with a man who only dates light-skinned women, or who only goes after the exotical type of women, so that you get to brag that you've got a Black girlfriend, but in your head you don't really feel like you got a Black girlfriend.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I kind of dealt some of that with my ex-husband, because he thought I was Filipino when we first met, and he had just come back from the Navy, being stationed in the Philippines. And he would say stuff like, like when we got married, well, the Asian women, the Filipino women, my job done. I was like, I am Black, motherfucker. I am from Gary. I grew up in the projects. Like, I'm from the hood.
Yeah.
And you talking about what these Asian women are doing. I was like, baby, do you forget I'm Black? And I literally would hear him say, well, my wife is Korean. I'm Black. I'm a Black woman. You need to stop thinking that. And and I lived with that for almost a decade. So that's why I tell people my issue really dating, it's not the atheism. It's the colorism. It's the colorism, and it's the objectifying of Asian women, the objectifying of light-skinned women. So honestly, I would, in my dating, if I'm dating a Black dude, I would rather date a dude that's kind of a rainbow dater. Because I'm like, you just dating everybody. You dating African women, you dating Latinos, you dating Black American women. I would rather date that kind of a guy, because I would at least know you just like them all. It don't matter to you. You just like everybody, But yeah, if I find a dude that is has a history of only dating light-skinned women, I kind of give those kind of guys a side eye.
Yeah. it kind of becomes a problem. And what's so interesting is that as a young man, right? As a young man who looks like this and dark skin, growing up, my color was not in style. Unless you were Wesley Snipes, like dark skinned dudes were we were bottom of the barrel. Yeah, I mean, unless you're Wesley, you had to be I'll be sure with the wavy hair and all that good stuff, right?
Yeah, in my time when I was coming up in the 80s, it was all about El DeBarge.
Yeah, exactly. Now all of a sudden when I get older, it's flipped on its head. But it seems that didn't happen for women yet. You know what I'm saying? And I kind of, well, it's getting up there. You got a lot more brothers saying that, they like the chocolate skin and all that good stuff. But the objectification, I notice, is still kind of there.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So that's one thing that I think we as a people really gotta wrestle with and deal with. You feel what I'm saying? And although some people prefer who you prefer, is not an issue or a problem for me. But where are your preference coming from and why are they? You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not a person that's gonna complain about preferences. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, dating was hard for me now, not only because I'm atheist, but because I'm short. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of women are like, if you ain't 6 foot, you're not riding the ride. You know what I'm saying? So it was difficult from that point, you know, period. So I don't complain about preferences anymore because I kind of get it. You see what I'm saying? But it's always like, I'll always ask, where do your preferences come from and why do you have them? Do you just like light-skinned women because like that's just something you always liked and you can't help it? Or do you like light-skinned women because you feel that they're a step above someone who's more of my skin color? You see what I'm saying? So, and if it's like that, if you're going to say that light-skinned women are, oh, they just more feminine, and I'm gonna be like, nah, bro, nah, bro, nah, nah.
No, you know,
More
if
feminine,
anything,
nah,
sometimes
bro.
we give more shit because, like, you know,
Mhm,
you, like I'm only 5'4".
mhm.
And, you know,
Same.
I've had dudes who have told me, you know, that I'm just really feisty, but I'm more of like, I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say, but it's crazy because no one ever says to me. The only time I get that whole masculine thing about me is online. That's the only time I have dudes calling me masculine. And it's because, you know, we're going back and forth, but I can almost guarantee that if I were to meet these men in real life, they would
Mhm,
not be saying I'm being masculine. They would
mhm,
not say that there's anything masculine about me. But you know, it's the way the gender wars are going and stuff.
mhm,
Um, but you know, people do have preferences, and I can't knock someone for their preference. But if your preference, as far as I'm concerned, is only light-skinned women or
mhm,
only women with, you know, like my texture hair or whatever,
mhm.
I'm not going to feel good about that relationship. I'm just
Got
not going to feel good about it. And it's going to be a total turnoff to me.
mhm,
Um, and it's something I've had to ease into because, like I said, my ex husband was kind of like that, but we got married in our late 20s, you know? And so we had some things fully developed, but not quite.
mhm,
And even though some of the stuff that he said bothered me, I'm focused on trying to be a good wife, a good
mhm,
Christian wife. And so I'm not really, you know, going at it. But it was really funny because after we got a divorce, and people are surprised, I was really good friends with my ex husband after we divorced. We
mhm,
just realized we were on two different paths. And so we would talk about it. He would tell me about the girls he's dating. And I'm like, but she light skinned. What's up with you and these light skinned girls? He was like, nah. I was like, why don't you just get like a regular black girl to date? Like, is there
mhm,
someone wrong with just dating just, just round away black girl? And he was just like, well, I'm just saying my prayer. I was like,
mhm.
for real. And then
Nah, bro.
yeah. And so, he branched out because we would tell each other about our dates, who we were hooking up with or whatever. Um, and he was just like, okay, so I'm dating a girl, and da he's just like, and he's like so proud. He's like, she's from Africa. And he was just like so excited to tell me, like, she's from Africa. And I was like, okay, is she a good person? Do you like her? And we're talking through it, but me challenging him to widen his dating preferences
Mhm.
and telling him you really do need to expand your preferences.
Right.
And I had to do that too because I had to realize I had a little bit of colorism in me.
Mhm,
For the longest time, after you would not catch me with a light skinned dude. you just, I just, and I don't know how that happened. I just was not dating light skinned men at
mhm,
all. They were, all, my ex husband was, dark. The majority of the guys I dated were dark. And so it was really weird. And this last guy I was with, and we were together 2 years, I took a chance. I went with a light skinned dude, 2 years, and I would joke with my friends. I was like, yeah, we just be laying in bed at night, going in the dark. And so, and I was like, I took a chance, and so sometimes you may need to expand your dating pool out and take a chance. But to go back to the choices, sometimes I don't blame black atheist dudes for dating white girls because
yeah,
you will find way more white female atheists than you will of black women willing to accept you
yeah,
being an atheist. And so when I hear of atheist guy, black atheist guys doing that, I don't really give them the side eye because I understand how hard it is for them,
Mhm.
because sisters gonna love them some Jesus,
Yeah.
and they're gonna assume that you're not a good person, And I tell some of my friends, maybe you should get with an atheist guy, you know. Maybe he got everything you want. He treats you good. He's generous. He's reliable. Who cares if you don't go to church?
Mm.
He treating you like a queen. Just go with it. You might be surprised at what
Yeah.
you'll get from it. So
Yeah.
sometimes you just gotta take a chance.
Yeah, exactly. In the relationship I had before I have the one now, luckily, I got with a woman who she practices ATR, an African traditional religion. She does that, so like it's we're all good now. And now that she's Jamaican, so the cultures are extremely similar and everything like that. So
Mhm.
like it worked out. But the relationship I had before then, that was the contention in the big relationship, was the fact that no, I don't really believe in that type of stuff. You see what I'm saying? And it was a huge problem, and it was always brought up like almost every other week. And I'm like, yo, listen,
Mm,
I don't believe this stuff. Yeah, all right, like, but at the end of the day, it got to the point where even though it was my sister saying it, it was like, are you gonna find a girl that makes sense? You know what I mean, or makes sense because they thinking that if you don't believe, you have problems or something like that, or how you going to lead in the relationship. Christianity is still very patriarchal,
yeah.
so how you going to lead? Stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, I don't. If I lead, I'll lead. If I don't, I don't. I don't give a shit about that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I do not care about leading. You know what I'm saying? It's not important to me. What's important to me is how we treat each other. Yeah, I mean, how we're going to work things out. That's what's important. I don't need to be the man and man say this, and I don't need to do all
Mm,
that. But
yeah.
like that's expected in a lot of these relationships. And with her, I was like, yo, I'm more than willing to work with you. If you wanted me to make decisions, I can make the decisions, but don't expect me to lead in the decisions and you get mad because I ain't pray over it. Like, you told me to make the decision and I made it. Don't be mad because I ain't pray. You know what I'm saying? Like it's ridiculous, but that would be some of the issues that we would have. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And it is kind of ridiculous. I always tell people, like, love who you love, find love where you find it all the time. But it's like you said, broaden your horizons. You know what I mean? You never know what you'll find. Me, I got my preference for black women. You know what I mean? And I never left that. that was just always me. I mean, I told myself I'm gonna find me a black woman. I don't care. I'm gonna find
and
me a
they're
black woman at the end of the day.
yeah, and they're out there. You just gotta, and I always tell people you just gotta find one. But
Mhm.
it's just sifting through everything to just find the one. But the other thing that I really do, um, I'm a big advocate of, when you find someone that you really want to be with, like you want this person to be your life partner, is get some counseling. And I think too many Black folks hold on to the whole, we just need to pray and God gonna make it better. Um, and that's a lot of times pushed in the church as well, really
Yeah.
heavily. And don't tell our business. Don't be airing our dirty laundry. Don't be telling the white folks what we be doing now.
Mhm.
And that's how I was raised, and my ex-husband was raised as well. But that whole patriarchy thing is what destroyed my marriage.
Mm.
That you, the wife, you, the woman, you need to be doing X, Y, and Z. And every time I never did X, Y, and Z up to his expectations of what a wife should do, he would tear me down and
Mm.
be upset. And whenever I would suggest counseling, his thing was, Black folks don't go to counseling. We just need to pray.
You need to pray.
And I'm
Yeah.
just like, okay. And then after we divorced, guess what he did?
Go to
He went and got
counseling.
some counseling.
Mhm.
He went and got counseling. And and
That's what you needed.
and then he came back to me and he was like, damn, D, I should have he was like, you're right. We should have gone counseling. He said we would have stayed married. And I said,
Yeah.
I know we would have stayed married. But you
Mm.
were so hung up on the man has to lead. Your wife, you the wife, these are all your jobs and what you're supposed to do. And I said, you were so hung up on that it we could not stay married.
Right.
I was tired, um, just tired. And so I really advocate for counseling, because I would have stayed married to him if we had gone to counseling. There was nothing we were facing that counseling couldn't have fixed. That an adjustment of our thought processes, or his, even his, to open up and do more things. But once he got counseling, he became a better person. He got remarried, had another baby, had a baby. And he was a much better husband to his second wife and a really good father because he went to counseling. And I tell that to a lot of Black men, go heal yourself. We got trauma. A lot of us got trauma. I got trauma. I got trauma from my daddy's trauma. We need counseling. And I've been in and out of counseling for years. You got to do the work to heal yourself so you can be a better partner, so that no matter who you get with, you can make it work and you can have more equity and more trust. And you can be there for each other. And we need that. We need more of that. But yeah, I feel for y'all. I feel for the Black men who are atheists. I feel for y'all.
Oh man, it's
hard. It's hard out there for a pimp.
Yeah, man. Well, boy, it's rough. And the dating game is already rough. Cause have you seen these balloon popping videos? It's like it's already rough, man. Because it's like, yo, I don't want to believe that women out there are this shallow, but it's like, Jesus Christ. What is happening?
I saw that. Okay, so I was joking with friends at the New Year, and I said, for 2024, can we just get rid of all these niggatheticals? You can't go to Cheesecake Factory. You spending all this money, or what about this? What about that?
The 20 ones, the popping balloons,
the popping of the balloons,
get rid of all that, yo. Like the podcast, please.
Take away these microphones from all of these podcast people, because the stuff that they are saying, what it's doing, it's giving these people, these creators, money. It's lining their pockets. That's the only positive thing that's going on, is they have a positive bank balance. And now we have a negative within the relationships between men and women.
Yeah.
And a lot of it, with so much social media going on, you feel like you got to look a certain way, you got to dress a certain way, you got to have a certain car, a certain job. I'm seeing people flexing like, yeah, I make 6 figures and I got, stop. We are in a recession. People are broke. People are struggling. I'm sorry. I don't care what you got on. I do not believe you got it like that. Okay? So let's stop with the nonsense. People are struggling. This 50-50, yes. We all need to go 50-50 on bills. Well, we need to go 50-50 on this childcare. We need to go 50-50 on this housework. We need to go 50-50 on this yard work. However you want to split it up. It can't just be 50-50 bills.
You know what I've said what I've told people before is that a lot of women, I want to say most women, they don't mind 50-50. It's the fact that what you said, it's only the bills. Like, because it's like, yo, think about it. Like, she already has to, deal with childcare. You know what I'm saying? Not only that, deal with childcare, she got to cook the food now. Then she got to, change diapers. She got to go ahead and clean the house. And then she got to go ahead and worry about the doctor's appointments, the PTA, all that, you know what I'm saying? And then she got to split 50-50 bit of bills with you, and she got to suck your dick at the end of the night. No. No.
Right, because if I'm doing all that, I'm just tired. I'm just tired,
I'm not going to deal with all that, bro. Like, that's exactly what the reason when me and my lady, when we, because we're in the process of moving back in with each other, because I had to help my peoples out, so I had to move back in, and I'm moving back out now. So it's like, when we were talking about dealing with all that, that's something that she was afraid about. And I was like, I grew up with my moms and my pops telling me when I got home, he was like, you better shut that Nintendo off because your mom's coming home, your room not clean, them dishes ain't done. You know what I'm saying? It was my dad telling me clean this house up before the woman gets home. Because if this house is messed up when my wife gets home and she's stressed out, you getting that ass whooping. You see what I'm saying? He tell us that all the time. So I grew up in that. I grew up in my parents being partners in this. You see what I'm saying? Like, he didn't let her be alone and all that. So that's why I was like, I'm not gonna let you do everything on your own. I don't believe in that type of relationship. I believe in more of equality. I believe more in equity. I don't have any issues being a leader, but being a leader does not mean that the one who is following after me is not gonna be taken care of. You see what I'm saying? So like I think that's what people are forgetting with this entire women be submissive thing and trad wife and a 50-50, all this other crap. That's what they're missing. At the end of the day, even in all these relationships where either the trad wife or man being the leader or woman submitting or 50-50, these are all deal with one thing, which is teamwork. You all still got to work as a team. You see what I'm saying? It's not all on one person or anybody else. And
let's just face it, the whole trad wife thing comes with a man being a traditional man. Let's be honest. The majority of Black men cannot afford to be a traditional man.
No, that's
and they cannot afford a traditional wife. We just got to be honest. This is our society. This is our capitalistic society. Black men, the majority, cannot afford it. Okay. However, you have your partners, the Black women. Black women are willing and able. You just got to treat her right.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to, Black women will split the bill 50-50. What you got to do is go wash some dishes. If your wife is cooking dinner, come in behind her and say, you know what, baby, you took care of the cooking the dinner. I'm going to wash these dishes. That helps her. She does the laundry and she's taking the clothes out the dryer. Baby, you did all the laundry. I'm going to fold the laundry and put it away for you. If she's mopping the floor in the kitchen, cleaning the stove, everything, wiping everything down, vacuuming, the living room, be like, baby, you know what? I'm a dust and I'm gonna go clean the bathroom. If you do that, she won't be tired at night and she can suck your dick.
Exactly.
I don't want to go and work 8-10 hours, come home, cook, wash dishes, clean up, throw some laundry in, and you talking about you want some. I'm tired.
She's tired.
I'm tired. So if you don't want your woman to be tired, do stuff in the house and don't wait for her to nag you. That's the other thing, and sometimes some men, I'm not a good housekeeper. I am not. And that's where the problem lay in my marriage. But my husband was a really good housekeeper. Like when he cleaned the living room, it was immaculate. Okay. And he's just like, well, I'm doing this to show you what you need to do. And I'm trying, but the house was just never as clean as when he did it. But I was more than happy to cook all the meals, do the grocery shop and do the laundry and keep the bedroom tidy. But can you just clean the bathroom and the living room, because he was naturally good at it. I am not naturally good at this shit. I'm just not. But I can cook. I can throw it down in the kitchen. Your belly will always be full. You ain't got to worry about that. You ain't got to worry about having no dirty drawers. But can you clean my bathroom? And that's really what a lot of Black women are asking for. They're asking for equity. And if you can give them that, but all these podcast dudes, these manosphere, bread pill,
it'll go away.
It'll go away.
I mean, and the thing is, our economic reality is that the average income of a Black man is like how you said that. That's our economic reality. Average income of a Black man is $45,000 a year. We cannot have stay-at-home moms. We cannot have stay-at-home wives. We just can't. At $45,000 a year, we can't do it. Now, if you're gonna say like these, these Hispanics and the Mexicans and the South Americans, they do it. Yeah, I know they do it. They all live in the projects. You know what I'm saying? Like we cannot do that. Living like, because I'm from South Florida. Every single man that I see doing that, right? When I go to the hospitals and I sign up for Medicaid and all these things like that, it's the man who's working. He's working down at the construction site, making $1,000 a week. You know what I'm saying? It all sounds good. The wife is not working. I look at that address. I know exactly where that address is. Projects. The barrio. You know what I'm saying? That's where they all live at, because they can't afford it. If she starts working, then they can afford to move on up. But right now, we can't. Us as Black people, we cannot do that. So stop worrying about stay-at-home moms. Stop worrying about submission. give an equity relationship. Like I will tell my boys, trust me. If she's gonna, I'm gonna cook for you, but if she comes home tired, if she's gonna come home from work and you expect her to cook, that whole house better be clean. She'll gladly cook.
Oh,
If the
yeah.
whole house is clean, she'll
Yeah.
gladly.
It's give and take. It's absolutely give and take. And the thing is that one of the things that I've noticed, with a lot of these podcasts is, like, if you look at Fresh and Fit, they're not married. They don't have serious relationships.
Not at all.
You know, if you're interested in learning about relationships, talk to people that you know about their relationships. Talk to single women, just be like, what do y'all want? You know, men are always telling us what they want from us instead of asking the women, like, where are you at? What are you looking for? What would you want? And a lot of times it's stuff that's easily done. That's the thing that amazes me. The stuff that women are asking for from men, it's so easy to do. When I say it
And
takes nothing for men to do a lot of stuff, be reliable, be consistent, be a good listener, you know, help us. You want us to go 50-50 on the bills, go 50-50 on the housework and be amenable to that.
exactly. And we're talking about like women who are level headed, not the women on Fresh and Fit podcast.
No. We're talking about
I need a man that makes $200,000 a year. No, not them. Not them. Regular women that's on your level.
And those women that are asking for that, they're playing a role, but men are taking that and going, well, you women, all you want is somebody who's 6 feet tall, 6 figures with a six pack. No, those podcasters and the little bird heads they got on, they are telling you that. If you ask the average Black woman what they're looking for, they're not going to say 6 feet tall. Majority of us are going to just be like, can you just be a little taller than me? My ex-husband, I'm 5'4". He was 5'7".
Yeah.
I wore pumps to the wedding, so I wouldn't tower over him. I was not wearing 3-inch heels. No, he was chubby. We would lay in bed. I would just rub his belly. He had a little belly on him. I didn't care. He was not making 6 figures. Shit. He moved out of his mama's house and we moved into an apartment together. Like, he ain't have shit. I ain't have shit. We were two ain't having shit people together. So what I'm saying is that they are listening to these people instead of looking around. Look at all the people around you. Who do you know that's making six figures? I live in Northwest Indiana. I do not know of anybody. I know people who are making $80,000, $90,000 that live in my area. Well, let me take that. I know some people that make 6 figures. They live in Chicago. Okay, because you may have to do that. But here, look at what teachers are making. Look at what nurses are making. Look at what the garbage collector is making. Look at the manager of your local McDonald's. What are they making? They're making decent salary. So you got to look at where you are. Being 6 feet tall and over, that's rare. They're a small percentage. Most men are gonna be in the 5'7", 5'8" range. That's not too short. Come on, my daddy was 5'4" and he got married. Come on now.
I'm getting married, so it's like
yeah. My dad was 5'4" and $120. His goofy ass got married. Come on, and he was a janitor.
Yeah.
Regular people are getting married and having good marriages. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, you don't have to have a dime on your arm. What's wrong with the little chubby girl with the glasses?
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So, you look at all the people that are around you. Look at what they're about. These are normal people. Those folks on the podcast, they are not normal, average, regular folk. They're just not. Got to look at the regular people. Me and you, we're regular people. The people in our groups that we see online on social media, these are some regular people doing some regular things. Look at what they're doing. Stop listening. Even the women that are online with sprinkle. Okay. I've seen her with her husband. Come on now. I don't want none of that sprinkle.
I've seen that.
Yeah. So, Kevin Samuels, look at him. 2 failed marriages. Why can't he keep a woman? But he's, he talking all this and the third and being mean to people. Let all that stuff go. We need some serious healing in the Black community.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of stuff that's going on, we just leave it in 2023. Let's be in this new year and just stop with all of the, you can't go to Applebee's on a date. I'm gonna say it. TGI Fridays is that's my place. I love me some TGI Fridays.
Look, like when I first got with my fiance, she was saying the same. She was like, yo, she said she told me one time, like, I'm not gonna lie, a lot of what you did stressed me out because I didn't know how I was gonna match up. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, man, you took me out of this place to this fancy restaurant here. And I'm like, I was just trying to show you a nice time because I just thought, you know what I mean, women would appreciate it. And she was like, I don't need all that. I would have been happy going to Applebee's. I'm like, I didn't know.
My first real date with my ex-husband, we went to Bennigan's. He took me to Bennigan's.
I remember Bennigan's.
Yeah, that's how old I am. He took me to Bennigan's. Great first date. The next day we walked around in the mall because he had come from, I was in grad school at Michigan State. He had come in, flew in to see me. We went to Bennigan's. The next day we went to the mall, walked around. He bought me popcorn and some nuts. We just walk around holding hands, just doing normal people stuff, and we have spent so much time on the phone talking, getting to know each other. That weekend, our first real weekend together, was great. We just walking around doing weird things. I remember one guy that I dated when I was working at Indiana University, and this was maybe 15, 17 years ago. I was dating this one guy. We went out for sushi and then walked around IU's campus, just talking. That was a great first date. It was nothing fancy about it. Ate a little sushi, took a little walk. I've gone on first dates at Olive Garden. Awesome. I had one dude was like, you want a little extra so you can take home with you? And he bought me an extra meal and said, take it on home with you. I'm like, okay. I look at stuff like that and I'm just like, these people online, they're telling you all this stuff. They're making these skits, these fake skits, these fake
ass skit
scenarios, and y'all are up in arms. Pay attention to what normal, regular people do. Regular, normal people, we going to Olive Garden. We going to Applebee's. We going to PF Chang's. We going to the cheese.
Why and getting ice cream. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, whatever is floating your boat at that time. Do that.
Exactly.
So that's what normal people do. Regular folks who make $50,000 a year.
That's what
we do. We do normal stuff.
I got one last question for you if I let you go. Okay, Dionne? All right. So this was great. I do appreciate the entire interview, man. This was amazing to talk to you. Amazing interview. Amazing to get insight. Yeah, I mean, I love all your insight, and you should definitely probably be part of this next proposal. I'm gonna say. So, when it comes to Black atheism and everything like that, like I said before, there are people who are more vocal, people who are less vocal, and I ask this of everybody who on this, what type of mind would you think that us as a community, or if we even have a community, should go in? There are some people who think that we should be more vocal. We should be out there doing content, being educators, being debaters, getting out in there in people's faces and saying we're Black atheists and we're loud and we're proud and we're going to be here. And there are people who said that we should cultivate more of a safe space for our community because we don't have that. I'm more of we can walk and chew gum. I think we can do both. I think we do need to be more vocal, but I do understand the need for a safer space for our community because we don't have that, which is part of the reason why I even started this platform in the first place, because I saw that we were all kind of disconnected in the content we were making and didn't have one space. If we were to cultivate a community of Black atheists, which path do you think we should go, or do you think we can walk and chew gum?
We can walk and chew gum together at the same time. We can. There's a group of us in Chicago, Black atheists in Chicago. And we actually came together because we had the Black Atheist group on Facebook, and a bunch of us from Chicago and Detroit, kind of got close. And one of our members who's from Chicago living in Arizona, she was murdered by her baby daddy or her husband, and because she was trying to get away. We were trying to get money to her so she can get away and come back to Chicago. And we were at the funeral, and people came in from, Black atheists came in from Detroit, came to Chicago. We went to the funeral, and then we went to Bar Louie afterwards and sat around and talked. And we were saying it didn't make any sense for us to get together like this over a tragedy. We need to be doing more with each other to support each other, because you have some Black atheists, when they come out, their families just own them.
Mm-hmm.
They are no longer part of the family, and so they have nothing, whereas maybe if you were involved with a church and your family kicked you out or whatever, you have a space to go to.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just started gathering in Chicago every now and then. We've got a couple people, they let us use their homes, and we go and we put a fire out in the back, and we talk amongst each other, and we support each other. And I think if you can find, especially in the big cities, you can probably find this. You can find groups in, DC, Detroit, Chicago, LA, Atlanta, Miami. You can find people, to other like-minded people to get with, to socialize with, and support each other. As far as debating, I think there is a space for that, because you want people to see us as fellow humans, that we are just as compassionate and empathetic. We are intelligent. We have feelings. And to be able to say, I have a moral and ethical code, and I don't need the Bible or the Quran to give that to me, because it is innate in us as humans to be communal animals and to be with each other. And so for me, the debates should really be centered more on
Discussion
instead of debating like the Bible, or anything. Because a lot of times you have people now who they're not into the Bible, but they still believe God exists, and they talk about being spiritual. And, because there is now this thing in the United States where the younger generations are not religious.
Right.
Churches are losing their members because they are not adjusting to the modern times. And so you have this group of people, may not necessarily be atheists, they believe, but they're just like, and they might fall more along the agnostic side. And I'm okay with that. But I just think we need to have discussions more than debate, because when you debate, it's about, I got to prove that I am right and you are wrong, and I am going to trump you no matter what. Versus if I converse with you and we can get on a good page. Like, I have this good friend in Chicago, Damascus, and we talk. He is, I think he's a pastor. He's an ordained pastor. He does a lot of community outreach, and we discuss a lot, because he wants to be able to reach out to atheists. He wants to make sure he does it right, and we have these conversations about how he can go about doing that as a Christian. We're not debating. I'm not trying to prove that his God doesn't exist. He's not trying to prove to me that God exists, but we have a common ground that we can meet on, because he wants to help the Black community, and I want to help him help the Black community, and we have to find that common ground. But you have some people who their faith is so much a part of them that to reject the existence of God is to reject them. And that's why they take it personal. So I'm not debating people to prove that they are wrong. Now if they come at me, I'm gonna dog walk you. Yeah. But for the most part, I feel we need to have more discussions, and so we can find common ground and have some more respect for each other. But it's hard for me, because I feel like I'm constantly being attacked by random Christians when I talk about it. I'm like, God, I just don't want to argue with you. I'm old. I'm tired. I may not make it for another couple of decades. I can't waste my time arguing with people like that. My knees are bad. My back hurts. I gotta take
True,
care
I
of my
feel that.
85-year-old mama,
Yeah, I
But
feel that, you know?
but yeah, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. But I feel we should have more conversations than debates because
Gotcha.
I am willing to bet if we can let some guards down, um, especially on the Christian side of being
Mhm,
more open instead of thinking that we are Satanists,
mhm.
that we're devil worshippers or we're just
Yeah,
evil people that have no morals and we're just out there screwing everything that runs around and what's keeping us from killing people. Some of these arguments are ridiculous, but they might be helped if we have conversations about it. But we also need to be supportive of fellow atheists when they go through things and give each other some grace, a little bit more grace.
I agree with that. I agree with
Mhm.
that. All right, Dan. Like, I really, really appreciate you. I really appreciate you coming on. This is probably the longest one I ever had, but I loved it.
Really?
Yeah,
Thank
this
you,
was the
Jerome, for
longest
having
one.
me on.
No, no, no. I appreciate you. You know, I appreciate the insight. Like, I do agree that we need to start these things. Like, one thing that I've noticed that when it comes to the black atheist approach, different from the white atheist approach, is that they do more of that debating thing, which is not really, like you said, it's not really a problem. There's a space for it. But they do it through their lens a lot. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I think there needs to be another lens. Like I've already know, like, everyone's heard about the four horsemen of new atheism. You know what I'm saying? Richard Dawkins, Christopher Hitchens, things
Yeah.
like that. I've always said we need the cookout. You know what I mean? A group of black atheists, you know what I'm saying? That we can do this from our lens, you feel me? And definitely your insight would definitely be appreciated and needed. But if you have anything to promote, any books or platforms that you like, go ahead and promote it now, and we'll go ahead and get out of here.
No, just we need more third spaces. We do. We need more third spaces so that we can come together a little bit more. We are lacking in those, and I think if we have more of those, we could have some better community and some better conversations and get to know each other better and have a stronger community. Mhm.
All right. All right. Yeah, we should definitely build that, and hopefully one day black atheists all come together and form some. We'll probably do it in Atlanta or something. Get a building and call it the third place. Where we can all,
Yeah, and then
we
they'll
can
say
all
we're
collaborate.
we're developing a cult.
Yeah. Hey, we're the cult of reason, I guess. That's what we'll call it. But Diane, I
Okay.
very much appreciate you. All right, and we are going to get out of here. I appreciate you being here, and thank you very much. All right,
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
no problem.
Okay.
You have a good night.